There we go. And I'm going to invite Lara and Sheena to join me and come online. Hello, Lara.
Hi, Meg.
Hi there, Sheena.
Hi, Meg.
A very warm welcome to everybody who has joined us here tonight. This is the official launch of PlaySense Dubai and the UAE, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to you all tonight Sheena Wilson from the Wilson Centre, who will be introducing us this evening. Sheena, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'd like to introduce you to Megan and Lara, who are the co-founders of PlaySense. Both are occupational therapists, entrepreneurs, and authors, so it's an honour to have them with us tonight. Both have 6 children between them, and this is the start of our PlaySense, the Wilson Centre's PlaySense journey in the Middle East. So awesome to have you here to start the journey with us, and we'd like to introduce you to PlaySense here in the Middle East. And I met Megan 3 years ago in South Africa when I was at the Centre Integration Conference, and I invited her to come to Dubai and do some training with our staff who thought she was awesome. And so when Meg told me that her and Lara had started this PlaySense, it was absolutely we had to have PlaySense here, and I knew it would be great, but it's more than great, it's stunning. And it's going to be awesome for you to hear this workshop tonight. And just a little bit of 20 years ago, I bought this book written by Megan Forey, and it's been one of my precious resources as an occupational therapist for the last I've had this book 20 years, and I got Meg to sign it when she was here, so that was really awesome for me. So I'm very excited to have you here tonight, and for us at the Wilson Centre to be hosting this, and again begin this journey of PlaySense in the Middle East. So over to Meg and Lara.
Thank you so much, Sheena. Really, really super to be here with you. And it's always wonderful to be with fellow occupational therapists, which Sheena is. Sheena actually runs the Wilson Centre, which is an amazing interdisciplinary centre in the UAE. There's one in Dubai and another one in Sharjah. And this focuses on play-based therapy and inclusive support for children. And so one of the parts, which we'll tell you about later on tonight about PlaySense, is that we actually are going to be launching an inclusive program in the UAE, as well as our online and homeschool programs, which Sheena is going to be conducting for us. So we're very excited. So now you know a little bit about us. I want to tell you a little bit about you. I am in our audience tonight. Let's have a look. I'll share the results. The majority of you are working full-time. So 44% of you are working full-time, and 33% of you are stay-at-home mums and dads. The majority of you have got little ones who are over 2 years old. So about 60% over 2 years old. And then the majority of you, 63%, has your little one at home and the care of a family member or a nanny. So that's what you're doing with your little ones. And your highest priority when it comes to choosing childcare for your child is a quality curriculum that optimizes development. So you're going to have a wonderful treat tonight, because we're going to have Lara talking to us. She's actually the person who does do our curriculum. She's designed the entire curriculum, and she really is quite remarkable at it. So she'll be talking to us tonight about play. So talking about play is absolutely incredibly close to Lara and my heart. It was in fact a couple of years ago that we decided that we would actually write a book on play. And so we got together after we'd founded PlaySense, and we started to write PlaySense. And unfortunately, that got sidetracked for reasons outside of our control. But at the time, we said, if we're not going to be able to do this book right now, let's rather start a play revolution. And so that's what this is all about tonight. Tonight is the start of our play revolution in the Middle East. And what is a play revolution? It's getting parents back to being joyful, enjoying their children, and playing with them. And that's really what we are talking about tonight. So tonight is going to be lots and lots of fun. We intend it to be lots of fun, and so we're going to be having some prizes tonight and a whole lot of fun and games. So, oh gosh, what's happened to my face? Sorry, let me see what's going on here. Sorry. You see, it heard I was being playful and it's turned me into something else. Okay, terribly sorry about that. Oh. We've now got the lion wreaking havoc with me. There we go. Oh, I'm back. Thank goodness. All right. So tonight is going to be really playful, but we've got some things lined up for you, some really exciting things. We've got 3 amazing prizes tonight. And so the very first prize, so this is how you're going to win these prizes. We're going to have some games through the evening. The first prize that's going to get drawn tonight, which will be drawn right at the end, is going to be for the person who counts how many times Lara and I say play sense from this moment forward. So that counts as 1. And if we say it again, play sense, that's 2. So I've said play sense now 3 times. So get a pen and pencil, tally up how many times we say play sense, 4 times. And the person who gets the closest answer at the end of the evening, our adjudicator's watching, she's watching what we're doing, and she's going to draw one of the prizes for the person who's closest to that. And then there'll be a couple of other opportunities during the course of the night for you to win other prizes. So we really are very excited to be with you here tonight. So it's time to start talking about play. And so without further ado, I'm going to start presenting my screen. So let's get started. There we go. Right. Okay. All right. So tonight we're talking all about play. All right, so I want you just for a second to think back to a time in your life when you were really, really full of joy, full of playfulness. Think back to your childhood. Think back to the game that you were playing. Close your eyes, think about it. What game were you playing the last time that you thought about when you think about play? So for some of us, we were riding our bikes around the neighborhood because there was a lot of freedom in those days, and so we could go out in the streets. For others of that, we might have been down near a river near our home, catching tadpoles. For others, we were playing an imaginary play game, hotel, or teacher, or maybe you had a baking game going, or maybe some of you had a dog who you were training to be a horse and you were doing a horse show. Whatever it was that you were doing in your childhood, try and remember back to that moment and try and think about that quality that comes across and that comes to your mind. Well, think about adulthood now, and you'll be able to know that it is just so, so different. I'm sure that for most of you, you're very familiar with these phrases. Hurry up, come now, stop drawing, stop daydreaming, come on, get in the car, put your shoes on, come on now, eat up, we've got to get going. Stop being silly. Are these statements that we say to our children every day? Well, it is. And there's a reason that we do it. And that's because life has become incredibly goal-directed. At every given moment, we're moving through the goals towards what we think we should be achieving. So even when it comes to our children, they need to be able to read at a certain age. They have to have a good pencil grip. They have to be able to do a 16-piece puzzle. Whatever it is, we're so goal-directed and so focused. We also are box tickers. There are a whole lot of boxes that have to be ticked in a day. And for those of you who've come from a busy career, you'll know what it's like. Every day is made up of ticking boxes. And so when we become parents, we've kind of forgotten how to just stop and play and be in the moment. And finally, we like to go places. We're in a hurry, going in a direction. We're ticking boxes and we're goal-directed. And I think when you think about this and how it really does encapsulate our lives, you will understand that it's exactly the opposite of what true play is. We've lost our way. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the UNCRC. Well, the UNCRC stands for the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child. Now, how many of us knew that the United Nations actually stepped out there and even put together an idea around what the rights of the child should be? Well, what it actually is a very, very important document. It's a legally binding international agreement that sets out the civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights of every child across the world, regardless of race, religion, or abilities. And so this is a very, very important mandate that has been given to us as politicians, as educators, but also to you as parents. And so what does this document say? This document says that children have the right to play. It is a basic human right. And of course, the reason why they've brought this in is because there are certain countries in the world where children don't have the right to play and they're put into labor very, very early or put into very restricted education programs way too early. So what is play? Well, the UNCRC says that child's play is any behavior, activity, or process that is initiated, controlled, and structured by children themselves. And it takes place wherever and whenever the opportunity arises. That's what true play is about. It goes on to say that play is fundamental to the physical, social, cognitive, emotional, and spiritual development of human beings. So there you have it. Aside from the fact that tonight is playful and we're going to be talking about how to play, I want us all to understand that the precursor for this is that we've been given a mandate to play with our children. So that brings us to what is play? Well, here's a couple of things that I believe, or that we know true play is. True play is done for sheer enjoyment. There is no goal at the end of it. There's no box to tick. There's no target. And that's one of the reasons why doing puzzles, which is a pastime, so doing puzzles is absolutely fine to do with your children, but it's not actually true play. Because if you think about a puzzle is one directional. There is only one right way and everything else is wrong. And there's only one finished product. And what happens with play is it's exactly the opposite. It's completely flexible. The other quality about play is that the hallmark feature for the child is that there is very deep immersion. In other words, the child is completely immersed in it. Now, for any of you who've done mindfulness courses, I've done a mindfulness course, you'll know that they keep talking about being in the moment and about focusing on going on with what's around you and about really being in that moment and not being distracted. Now, when a child is truly playing, that's exactly what we see. We see children that are deeply immersed in exactly what they're doing. Another word for that is flow. So when a child is playing properly, they are in their flow. Play also entails being really silly. So being silly and messing around and having a good belly laugh is very important and another feature of play. And it is through play that children really do find their joy. So that is what play is all about. It does grow children, it does develop them, it does tick a whole lot of boxes around social and emotional development and physical development. But most importantly, it's just done for the sake of it. So there are a couple of types of different play that we see. There's one that is explorative. So this is when a child becomes an investigator, a little scientist, when they start to make a mess. And I know how frustrating it is, how many times I've shouted at my little toddlers to say, stop making a mess. Don't pour the water out into the mud again. Stop playing in the dog's water bowl. These are all things we say to our children. But what is your child doing when they're doing that? They're being a little scientist. They are being explorative. The second thing I want to point out about play, other than being explorative, is that it is self-motivated. And so the minute we've got a parent who's telling a child what to do and how to do it, whether it is a parent or an educator, we've stepped out of the space of play. And that was one of the things when we joined forces with Sheena, it was really, really important to her, was that we were going to have a play-based curriculum to teach children, because when a curriculum is play-based, it means that the child has a say about what's going on. It's not just directed by teachers. And the third thing I want to point out when I point out critical elements of play is that it is a tutorial for life's challenges. And I don't think there have been many times in our living history when we have been dealt quite as big a challenge as we have right now. And for most of us, isolation, as we've had to do it over the last year intermittently, has posed a lot of challenges. Being between four walls with a toddler sounds like a really big challenge to most parents. And for toddlers, it's a pretty big challenge too, because they're not getting out and socializing and exploring the world. And so last year, when we did a talk on how to deal with COVID and the pandemic for children, Lara spoke a lot about how play is a panacea for one of life's challenges, and that was isolation at the time. So that is what play is. Let's talk about why we should play. So I'm going to break this down into why parents should play, because here's a wonderful pic of a mum playing, and why children should play. So you do need to play for yourself. And there's a couple of really, really good reasons behind this. And there's a lot of research about it as well. One of the things that we know about play is that play makes us more creative. It gets our creative juices going. And if you are in the creative industry, and most of the careers of the future are in some type of creative industry, if you're in a creative industry, you'll know that you want your creative juices to flow. And they flow best after you've played. And that's been lots of research has been done. One of the pieces of research was done actually with a set of Lego, where they gave a Lego design with no build, with no plan, to a group of designers at a college, and a set of Lego with a plan, so plot and plan Lego, to another group of students. And what they found was that the group of students who could be creative and design anything they wanted were much more creative when they had to solve problems than the group of students that were given a plot and plan. So the ones who were just playing with Lego did a whole lot better. So it's important for our creativity. The second thing is that it is a panacea for stress. And one of the things we know about play is it raises endorphins, which are those feel-good neurotransmitters, and it decreases stress hormones. And so if you're feeling stressed, which many of us have felt over the last year and many times in our adult life, one of the best ways to let go of that stress is through playing with your child. So playing with your child might seem like it's only working for them, but it's doing a whole lot for your brain too. It also stops us from overthinking things, because when you're fully immersed in a game of play, you will stop thinking about all the things that you've been sweating an hour before. We also know that it makes us younger. People who play remain younger for longer. And I was one of those fortunate people that had a terribly playful grandfather. At any time, he could be found on the lawn with children crawling all over him and playing a game of imaginary play. And we adored him, but he stayed young right until the end. He was an amazing man. And so when you play with your children, you definitely do stay younger. The other thing you do, which is critically important, I have teenage children, and I can tell you that that relationship you have with teenage children is very, very important. And if you play with your toddler, you will play with your teenager. You can't suddenly pick up play with a teenager at 14 years old. It takes years of bedding down a relationship and a manner of interaction that is playful to have that relationship with your teenager. And being playful with your teenager, I can promise you, is one of the most wonderful ways to connect with them and to prevent those difficult, tricky teenage behavior. So that's why it's good for you. But what about for your child? Well, of course, we know that human brains are developed through play, and there's been a huge amount of research done on this. A lot of it in the early days was actually done with rats, where they let rats run through mazes in the one test study. And in the other test study, the rats were on their own with no activities. And what they found when they dissected the rats' brains was that the rats' brains were much bigger if they had stimulation in mazes. But the same thing happened for humans. So in 2003, Gordon did a study where they found that BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is the growth factor that gets your brain growing, releases much more in children who are playing, and it happens during play activities. There's been lots of other studies done, things like the effect of play on language skills. And this was done by Fisher in 1964, where they found that children that engaged in pretend play specifically had better language skills. And then later on, Pepler and Ross in 1981 also looked at imaginary play, and they found that convergent play, which is where the world's your oyster, imaginary play, you can do anything that you want, sorry, divergent play, stimulated language and creativity much better than convergent play, which was doing a puzzle, for instance. So divergent play is a much better thing, which is that flow that we get. We also know that it's good for math skills and language skills and relationships later on. So there are a million reasons why we should be playing with our children. So at this point now, I'm going to hand over to La, but just before I do, we're going to play a game. Now, you're going to be requested to type a word in the chat. So we're going to be watching the chat. My adjudicator's watching now. And I'm going to put in a virtual background, and I'm going to say, where in the world am I? So can you guess where I am now? Anybody? Let's see if anybody can guess where I am right now. Have we got any correct answers? Let's see. Oh, sorry, let me go back a step. I'm just trying to find where I can see what's been written. I am not in Dubai. I am not in a park. I am not in space. Come on, this is a TV program that your kiddies love. Where in the world am I? Let's see if anybody can guess where I am. Not Teletubbies, but you're close. I am in my home and I am in a Zoom meeting. I am in the night garden. Anissa, you are the winner of our very first prize tonight. Anissa has won it. I am in the night garden. But we'll play again later and you'll get another opportunity to guess. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to now hand over to Lara.
Thanks, Meg. Great. So I'll be chatting just a few things from the brain science on how play works. Now, did you know that in the first 1,001 days, the baby's brain reaches 85% of its adult size, with 1 million neural connections being formed a second? As you can see in this photo, if you look very carefully, they're actually the same amount of nerve cells from picture to picture. But what's the difference? How is this little brain growing? Well, the cells are actually connecting with each other, and they pass the message that the little one experiences from the environment through their senses and movement throughout the brain for processing. And the more these cells talk to each other, the stronger the connection. And then also the thicker those cells become, because they grow an insulating layer called myelin. Just like an electric cable, when it's insulated, the electricity flows, and it's the same with this myelin. Then repeated actions strengthen certain connections whilst others are pruned away. So that was a little bit of background. And this first slide actually also illustrates that the play, what is three things that the brain, that play does? The first is it builds brains, builds competence through connections and through repetition. So you'll see those cells in a different type of image there, joining together, connecting and becoming thicker. And I always like to think of it as a well-worn hiking trail. If you go on a trail and the path is clear, you'll finish the trail, you won't get lost. And it's exactly this with those messages that are going on in the brain. They get to where they're going, and repeated actions strengthen certain connections. Now, why does play work? It's such a beautiful cycle. So as you'll see here, a healthy child is curious. I don't think any of us have to teach our children to be curious. And when they're curious, they explore. And when they explore, they discover something. And that actually releases pleasure chemicals in the brain. And when our brains experience pleasure, we actually go and we repeat actions. So repetition involves practice, and that develops mastery. So you have this little mini cycle going on here. And then through repetition and mastery, they develop confidence, which makes them explore a little further next time. Isn't that just amazing? And the message I want you to hear tonight, parents, is that repetition is absolutely key to all these skills through play. New is not better and faster is not better. And I think, just like Meg was saying, our busyness and our work overspills into this play relationship. So does these messages we get from society about new things and faster things being better. It is not the case with play. Think about your little one. Think of they love the same books being read over and over. They love the same songs being sung over and over. They love it when you build a tower and you knock it over and over. That is how they learn. So what's big idea number 2? Well, play builds relationships, which build the brain. I love this quote by Harvard professor Shonkoff, who says, it's impossible to overestimate how important the early years are. And before we've said this is a guilt-free webinar, he says that just 15 minutes of focus time at any time of the day, so that's a few times during the day, is exactly the kind of play you need. And scientists have shown over and over again that it's building neural circuits happen through something called serve and return. So I want you to watch the next little clip, and I want you to look particularly at what baby does and what daddy does. So volume there, Meg.
La, is the sound not playing?
Yeah, it's not playing. I just sent you a message.
Okay. Do you mind if I just quickly reshare this, because it's too cute to miss? I'm going to stop the sharing. It's just too sweet, and I think if we miss it, it will be very sad. So let's start that one again.
Thank you.
Right, don't bring that again. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Working?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Like, go somewhere else with that, but don't bring it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I said. And then it was like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, what in the world? But don't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Really? I thought the same thing. We think a lot alike, huh? Oh, that's crazy. Right.
Lovely.
I can't get enough of that video. So what did you see? What did baby do and what did daddy do? Well, baby served in this interaction called serve and return. You can actually see the magic of play. Now, there's no toy here. It's just that relationship. The baby is serving through babbles, gaze, gestures. How amazing were his gestures? And sometimes children touch or point at things. Then the adult was very in tune with the baby, and he noticed and returns the serve. He narrates, he mimics, he converses with the little one. And then he pauses and he waits for baby to serve again. And so it's sharing the focus. Where baby's attention is, there's your attention. Then support and encourage, name or converse, take turns, and have beginnings and endings. And that is just being respectful of when your baby's had enough. I think that little one would have kept chatting all night. But what is amazing is the neuroscience shows that this builds the architecture of the actual brain and is the foundation for lifelong learning and emotional well-being. Now, what is the third amazing thing that play does in terms of neuroscience? Well, it builds self-regulation. And at PlaySense, we call this the super skill. If you Google the marshmallow experiment by Michel, in 1970, he conducted this experiment at Stanford, and he looked at basically 4 to 6-year-olds, and he put them in a room with a marshmallow, and he said, I'm going to go out for 15 minutes, and if I come back and that marshmallow is still there, I'll give you another marshmallow. And what was fascinating is that these children have been studied their whole lives, and in full life studies, researchers have found that children who are able to wait longer tend to have better life outcomes. Firstly, with SAT scores, that's America obviously, but those are like the matric scores, educational attainment, so how many, whether they went on to become professors, body mass index, and other life measures, like staying off drugs and out of jail, even marriages, how long people stay married for. And this was the start of a body of research on self-regulation. In this case, it looks just like impulse control, but it's actually far more than that. It's the ability to name my own emotions and act appropriately, as well as recognize other people's emotions and have empathy for them. It's even problem solving and being able to pay attention. And now these are all the skills that our children need for the future. The amazing thing is when I set out to write the PlaySense curriculum, my thought was, well, if this is the super skill, how is it developed? And the most incredible research shows that it's developed through pretend play. And the sad thing is that this play is what is fast disappearing from our preschools because there's such an emphasis on academic learning. Now, Vygotsky, who's kind of the father of social learning, he was a child psychologist, he concluded that of all activities, pretense affords young children the greatest opportunity to become self-regulated. Now, how is that possible? There's 3 main ways depicted in these pictures. The first is what we call playful substitution. So those are real, those are plastic animals representing the real animals, but they are using blocks there as fences. They're pretending that they're in the zoo, for example. Children will also use blocks for a car. A little child will pick up a block and go vroom, vroom, or put it to their ear as a phone. And what's happening there is they are distinguishing an internal idea, an idea they've had in their head, from a concrete reality by changing the object's usual meaning. So it's not just a block here, it's a fence, or it's a bottle, or it's a car, or a phone. And they're actually choosing to rely on their thought and not just impulse. The second picture shows how pretend play encourages children to follow social rules. So there's a little one and she's playing Doctor Doctor. But this is when children willingly place constraints on their own actions. So if there were 2 little ones playing, one would lie still for the doctor to examine them. You can't pretend with another person unless both of you agree on what you're playing. So players must conform to a set of rules and practicing this conforming helps children to develop better self-control over time. And then the last picture is they engage in self-talk, which assists them in planning and controlling behavior. They start to actually have what-if reasoning going on in their heads. And I love an example of this is of children who are scared of the dark. And you tell them that you're going to make monster spray, and you just get a spray bottle and fill it with water and maybe some essential oil if you have. But their minds will be thinking, what if I spray this? It will actually help get rid of those monsters. And that self-talk will be happening in their heads. Now, why is this so key? Why is it so key that we focus on pretend play? So the first thing is, and Meg, you can go on. The first thing is that children today don't know how to play because we've forgotten how to play, and that's why we're so passionate about this webinar. But secondly, there's tech. It's so easy just to turn to tech. There's overscheduling. Children have far too many activities these days. Every minute of their day is planned. There's a lot of structure going on in those extramurals. There's a lack of safe outdoor play. Children actually used to feel safe and parents could let them go off and play in the streets, and that's not really available to children today. And then when that happened, mixed age play of the neighborhood would happen together. And today, play partners, you know, there's this emphasis on having all age children in the class within a few months of each other. Actually, that just means that our play partners are as inexperienced as we are. And then, as I've already alluded to, there's this academic pressure on children. They are seen as a head that we need to fill. And so without adult support, the play of children cannot reach this kind of mature, dramatic play. Guiding children to play has to be as intentional and systematic as teaching, reading and writing, without being adult directed. So we place so much emphasis on reading and writing, but actually, and that's very adult directed, we need to get as good at teaching children to play. Thanks, Minnie.
Give me a second, I've got a problem with my sound, so I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we can hear the music.
I can't hear you now, but I'm just gonna, here we go. All right. Okay. You can hear me and the music. I don't even know where the music's coming from. I can't hear either. So let me try and work out quickly what's happening here. And it's very bizarre. You can, as the music stops.
Meg, you're just being playful.
Let's see if I can stop the music. There we go. Right, the music stopped. I'm back. This was obviously supposed to happen tonight with our theme for the night being playful. So thank you to my computer for contributing to that very playful moment. So I'm going to go on now, and I'm going to talk about how you do this. So let's talk about the how now that Lara's done the reasons why and really what happens behind the scenes. But before I do, I am going to find a new background, and you're going to have to guess where this one is, okay? So this particular one, you have to name exactly where I am. So I'm not just at school. Where do you think I am? Let's see if anyone can get it. Okay, let's see if anybody's going to be able to guess that. I'm in a playroom, yes. So play is part of it. Play, let's see if anyone can get it. Play sense room, yes, okay. I'm Pretorius, I think you might have been the first. Says I'm in a play sense room, so there we go. So this is a play sense classroom. Out of interest, our play sense classrooms don't look like this, and the reason that our play sense classrooms don't look like this is that our play sense classrooms actually happen in your homes. So a real play sense class is in a parent's home, and that means either online, so our teachers will conduct it online into your home, or it can be actually in your home itself or at the Wilson Center. So there you go. That's the second prize of the evening. Right. So now we're going to talk about how to play. So a couple of things, and I'm going to give you a whole lot of pointers here about how you should be playing with your little one. So the first thing about play is that you need to get involved. Okay, so this does take some energy, and I know as parents sometimes we can feel quite tired, but actually getting involved with your little one is very important. Lots of research has been done around play, and actually Lara and I are busy looking at some research where we're trying to find those absolute nuggets, like what happens in play that really makes the difference. And there's quite a bit of research that shows us that the magic of play is in the relationship. So having somebody to play with is very, very important. Now, as a parent, it's easy for us to have actually forgotten how to play. And so that is why our online program is so fabulous, because it teaches you along the way exactly how to play with your little one. And this little one, Laura, as you can see her here, is a precious little one who is in Lindy's group. She's one of our online teachers. And Laura's parents actually built her a farmyard for the farm theme. And there you can see they got fully immersed in creating this playground for her and playing alongside her. So she doesn't have siblings who are with her at school. She doesn't have other children. She's in our online school because she lives in an outlying area. And so her parents have got fully immersed in this. Part of being playful with your child is to be able to co-regulate with them, which Laura's spoken about. Read their signals, understand when they're becoming overstimulated, and help them to understand how they're feeling and what they're thinking. So the very first tip is you've got to get involved. And I want to just show you this video of Aisha and her little boy Khalid. And this was in the middle of lockdown. And Aisha is a very successful, she's actually a very big influencer in South Africa. And Aisha's little boy obviously got locked down with her in isolation. And she did our online program. And this is what she had to say about it.
In some ways, I don't know if you found this, but I've got 3 kids, and I found that having 3 kids and running a busy business and everything, I ended up like kind of only doing the stuff with the kids that was essential, like lifts and, you know, meal times and just the stuff that kind of ticked the boxes. And I think along the way, because our lives are so busy, we kind of have forgotten how to play. And I do think the play sense, I mean, that was one of the big intents of the program, was that parents would actually learn how to play again and, you know, kind of find that playfulness inside of themselves. Have you found that is so?
Totally. I feel like I definitely know how to play, and I've got like instead. So usually I would drop Khalid at play sense and then I would go to the gym. So now instead of gymming, I'm actually doing play sense. Is like it's like a workout because I have to run around with him and really get involved in all the activities. And I do find it made me more playful, and also understand him, to get down to his level and really understand what he's going through. I feel like for parents as well, assisting kids, I feel like my imagination, I'm in a creative field. I feel like everyone needs to be creative, whatever job you're doing, especially now during this time. We're all trying to be creative with how we earn money and all kinds of things. And I feel like he's really, like the program actually opens up my own mind, because I think last week we did the airplane theme, and I had to draw clouds on the tiles, and then we were jumping through the clouds and pretending to be airplanes. And I actually felt really positive afterwards, because I was obviously playing the game with him, because I'm also in play sense now. I'm his classmate.
So there you have it. That was Khalid and Aisha, and just how enriched she was through this whole process. Right, so that was the first thing, get involved with your child. The second way to do it is to do something called watch, wait, and wonder. And this is a very important strategy that I'm going to tell you about. So what watch, wait, and wonder entails is to actually create a little box. I want you to all go away tonight and get one of those plastic boxes, and into that plastic box, put some really, really special toys that your child loves. So it might be a dolly with a bottle, or some cars, or some dinosaurs, or just some blocks, or a play telephone. And I want you to put that box away, and I want you to label that box as their special time box. And every single day, I want you to take that box down for just 15 minutes and tell your child, we're going to have your special time now. Take that box down. Please put your cell phone, iPads, any distractions away, and put that box on the floor and sit on the floor with your child. And then I want you to watch what they do. I want you to wait to see what happens. And then I want you to wonder at the joy of their engagement with play. And what you will find is it will absolutely fill up your emotional tank. This is actually a therapeutic intervention that we use in play therapy that was developed by Elizabeth Muir. And it's an incredible strategy. And if you've had a new baby and your toddler is playing up, or you've gone back to work and your toddler won't sleep at night, whatever it is, when you do watch, wait, and wonder, it really fills up their emotional tank, and it really can solve a whole lot of problems. And I can tell you that when your children get older, and just coming home from school and sitting quietly in the kitchen while they have lunch is good enough for watch, wait, and wonder with them, to actually just make that connection. So when I was looking up a little bit about watch, wait, and wonder, I came across this incredible book, and the book cover is what you see there, which is If You Want to See a Whale. I loved it so much, I've ordered it off Amazon. But I want to read to you a little excerpt out of this, because for me, it really encapsulates what watch, wait, and wonder is about. It says, if you want to see a whale, you will need a window. Well, not just a window, but an ocean, and a time for thinking about whalish shapes. Maybe it is a whale, maybe it's not a whale. You can't very well see a whale either from the snuggly comfort of your favorite spot at home. You will have to ignore other distractions like roses and ships in the distance on the water and people on those ships. There's no time to be thinking of pirates. Don't let pelicans, tiny creepy crawlies, or clouds lead you astray with their smiles, movements, or fluffy forms. All of that, of course, is an example of what we do with our cell phones. You don't want to be distracted by that. No, you need to stay on the course. You need to keep both your eyes open, watching the water and waiting for the wonder of a whale. And I'm encouraging you in that moment to watch your child and to wonder at the wonder of their play. So that's point number 2. Get involved, watch, wait, and wonder. Number 3, get involved with make-believe play. Lara has said it. Make-believe play is the absolute best way. Now, how do you get involved with make-believe play? Well, just pick up a hat and put it on your child's head and say, who are you today? Or put a scarf around them and say, what can we be? And just when your child starts to dress up a little bit or play with a certain toy, you ask them a question about what they can do or who they can be, they'll come up with an amazing game. And this is an example of a wonderful game that you can play with your little one in an aeroplane. Now, I'm going to ask you a question about how many of you remember where you were when 9/11 happened, when the plane flew into the Twin Towers. Now, most of us can remember where the news was served to us, where we were sitting, what we were doing. Well, I want to tell you where I was. I was sitting in an aeroplane, just like this one in this picture over here. I was sitting in my pantry cupboard with my little boy sitting in front of me, and I was sitting behind him, and I had my 6-month-old in my lap, and we were playing aeroplane, and he was being the pilot. Now, the reason I remember that, of course, is because it was a significant moment in world history. But the reality is that actually playing with your little one should be fully immersive. You should be on that small chair, being the passenger, with the other passenger on your lap, and listening to the captain. That is true imaginary play. Now, when your child embarks on that type of imaginary play, they are preparing themselves to be a CEO of a company, because when you're the CEO of a company, you get to take an idea out of your head and you get to look at the resources around you and you get to inspire people. And that's what happens when little ones are involved in make-believe play. So my 3rd tip of the evening is get involved in make-believe play. The 4th thing is be involved in open-ended creativity. So don't have that puzzle or that coloring in activity or that paint by numbers as the only activity you do. They're fine, but they're not the only thing. It has to be open-ended. It has to be something where your child can direct it and they can lead you, and it's not going only in one direction. My 5th tip is to plan your play in everyday interactions. So here's an example. If you're setting the table, play a game like, let's make a restaurant for our prince or our princess when they come home from work, and play restaurant. That's an example of getting playful with meal times. What about story times? Well, bedtime can be full of stories and puppet shows and even hand shadows on the wall when there's a light casting a shadow. That's an example of playfulness at bedtime. What about meal times? Things like here comes the aeroplane and making a plate look fun. And then, of course, for bath time, lots of wonderful experiments like bubbles, like, is this a floating duck or is this a sinking duck? And as your little one starts to play all of those activities, they are learning through play. So make it part of everyday activities. And then the second last one is to be curious. Ask lots of questions. If you're getting frustrated with your little one saying why all the time, that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And if I were you, I'd turn it back on its head and throw it right back at them and say things like, why are we doing this? Or where can we go? Or who can we be? Or what can we see? And when you start to play and ask questions like that and ignite their curiosity, they are going to be playful. And the very last tip I have for you is to be silly. Do crazy things with your child and make them laugh. This is a wonderful way to get them to engage with you and to learn and to play more and more with you. So there you have it, a couple of little tips as we come to the end. But before we finish, we have got a treat for you, because Mum's World has come alongside us, and they have given Lara 5 toys that they want her to talk about. And there were actually 5 toys that Lara chose. So we said to her, Lara, go and pick us out 5 toys. If parents only want to afford 5 toys, what are the 5 toys that you think have to be in a toddler's play box? And so here we have it. Over to you, Lara.
Thanks, Meg. So I just encourage you, if I'm small on your screen, to just push the PowerPoint to the left, and then you can see me better, because I'm actually going to demonstrate. So the first toy from Mum's World, so you can get all of these online, is Play-Doh, and I just absolutely love Play-Doh. So the first thing that it can stimulate is they often smell different, and obviously there's color, so that's sensory smell and color. But Play-Doh is wonderful for fine motor skills. You can roll some balls with your child, and as we've said, remember not to be adult directed, to ask them the what if questions. What can this become? Let's make a ball. What else could the ball be? It could be an egg. It could be a blueberry. So making things and encouraging them to think creatively. Then taking some building blocks and using the Play-Doh as cement and saying that they need to put the blue Play-Doh on the blue block. Let's build like Bob the Builder. Let's play Town, for example. And as I've said, you can use Play-Doh to make food. So I love it when there's at least the primary colors in your set to be able to play with the Play-Doh. There are really endless things you can do. Now, the next best activity or toy that you could have in your home is a set of building blocks. So these are the plastic building blocks, but obviously we love wooden ones as well. And the reason blocks are so great is that there's no right or wrong. You can build towers, castles, landscapes, towns, and houses together. And they've actually shown that building with blocks is a proven activity to improve mathematical ability. And it's like Meg said, it's open-ended. Let's see what we can make. Obviously, while you're going, you can talk about colors, or you can build with, we're having a yellow day and we're only going to build with the yellow blocks, and see if your child can do that. Now, this is one of my absolute favorites. It's a felt sandwich set. So some of these toys look a little bit different because we're in South Africa here, but that's the set you can get on Mum's World. It's got felt and wood together. So obviously there's wonderful sensory exploration. But with an older child, you could say, let's play restaurants. Let's make a sandwich, and giving them some instructions and seeing if they can follow, or ask them to tell you what to make, of course. So for example, I can say, I want a brown bread sandwich. This is brown bread, there is white bread in there, with some lettuce, please, and some tomato and some cheese, and see if your little one can do that. Then you can group all the round things or all the square things in the play kits, the sandwich kit, and you know, you can count them, you can do color, number, shape, or size. There's the textures. And then another wonderful thing is, you see that plate on your screen now, and you ask them to look at it, and then a second later you put a blanket over it and you take one away and you say, now which thing has a little monkey come and stolen, or which thing has a caterpillar come and stolen? And that's a wonderful memory game. And the next toy, now you might want to, might be quite cross. My mom's quite cross that I have this in the house, because it's not music making, it's noise making. But we absolutely love toys that enable little ones to make a noise. And why is that? Because again, there's no right answer for them at this age. Noise making develops the sensory system when they sing along. So there's our pretend play song CD that you can order off our site. But basically they're learning, they're developing hearing, and they're developing language. But also holding these shakers is really great for fine motor skills. Dancing around is great for gross motor skills. And then that closeness you have when you sing and dance with someone is great for emotional development as well. You can ask them to make a beat, and then you can copy them. So you hold one and the little one holds one. And if they shake it 3 times, you shake it 3 times. And then a drum, which of course you can also make at home, but using both hands together is a really great activity for your little one. Now you might be saying, where's the 5th toy? Well, we believe the 5th toy is the box that the toys come in. How often do you buy your child something beautiful and they're more drawn to the box than the actual toy? So Meg, if you'll go to your next slide, why is that? Well, boxes are open-ended. They stir choice, control, and imagination. They can become anything. So have a look in that picture. The top picture is a little one with a small box that they turn into a camera, and she's an explorer with a giraffe. In the next picture, there's a box being turned into a tractor. And in the bottom picture, there's a whole lot of little ones at a play sense group in their train, and they've got little houses behind them, all made of boxes. And the skills are endless when they're playing that, but most importantly, they're really practicing what Meg spoke about as divergent thinking earlier. So those are my play tips with my top favorite toys. I'll hand back to Meg.
Thank you, La. So those are our tips for the evening, and I hope that you have enjoyed this. So we are now going to give you a gift. So there are a couple of things that we're going to be leaving with you. So we are going to draw the last winner of the PlaySense win. So the number of times that I've mentioned PlaySense, myself and Lara tonight. But before I do, I want to just tell you what your gift is. So everybody is getting one of these, and it's going to arrive tomorrow in your inbox. And it's a playbook of exactly how to play with your little one. So we've put this together. It's got activities for every day for the next 5 days. It's got books according to the theme. It's got music. It's got the most wonderful activities and games for your little one. And we want you to get involved. They're very simple. They don't require a huge amount of equipment. You can get everything from just a corner shop down the road. So we want you to really, really get involved and play with your little one. So that's the first gift that we're going to be giving to you tonight. And then before I draw our winners, I do want to mention to you that this is, as you know, the launch of PlaySense Dubai and the UAE. And we are very, very excited to be partnering with Sheena and the Wilson Center. They are going to be having 3 different offerings on offer for you. The first one starts within the next week, and you can get your name down immediately, and that's our online program. So we have these incredible teachers who are fully trained, who are going to Zoom into your home for 2 sessions every day to chat to your little one and to entice them into play. And you will be given access to a very special portal, similar to this book, but a proper electronic portal in which you will have activities, 2 activities a day. So if you're a nanny, and I know some of you on here are nannies, suggest this to the people that you're working for, because it's a wonderful way for you to stimulate your child's brain, the child that you're looking after, and to really know how to play with them. So you'll be guided through the play. So all of you can join our online program immediately. The second offering that Sheena is offering is an in-home program, which will be launching later this year, a micro school program in your home with up to 6 children in a home with a trained teacher, with one of our trained teachers. And that will be coming later this year. And finally, if you know anybody who has a child with some form of disability, Sheena is offering an inclusive program that includes therapy as well as education through the PlaySense program at the Wilson Center. And that will be launching in the next 2 months. So if you are interested in any of these 3, online to start immediately or the other 2 later in the year, please do email us, and you'll see that there will be a contact number tomorrow in the email that you'd get. So to summarize what we've spoken about tonight, play needs to be child-led, very importantly. It needs to be adult-guided, so you're there to guide them along the way. Remember to talk about everything that you do. That's called narration. And please be silly, because that's the best way to play with your little ones. And then be present in the moment. Use watch, wait, and wonder, and watch for that serve and return. When your little one talks to you, talk back to them, even if it makes no sense at all. And the final tip before we finish off is, of course, to repeat everything. And so I'm hoping that we have given you some wonderful tools to use. So before we draw our winners, I'm just going to see whether or not Sheena wants to say anything as we finish off and draw our winners.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sure, like I have, it's been very enjoyable to sit here and watch the workshop that Meg and Lara has given us tonight. And I hope that with all the information there, it's given us all food for thought on how to be playful with our children, and even as teenagers. And yes, to start when they're babies and toddlers. And this is an awesome program that we all as parents would like to have on hand to help us be silly and playful and enjoy ourselves. So thank you, Lara and Megan, and really looking forward to rolling this out for all the children and the parents in the Middle East, in Dubai and the UAE. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sheena. Really, really, we do appreciate you joining hands with us to do this. So we've come to the end of our evening, and we are going to now draw our winners. And for those of you who are asking if you're going to get access to this recording, you will get access to it. We'll be delivering it all in your inbox tomorrow. So without further ado, hamper number 1 is, and this is from Mum's World, as we mentioned. And by the way, everybody here tonight is getting a discount voucher for Mum's World. So watch at the very last slide. I'll have a voucher code up for you. But this is a VTech preschool gear play giraffe, and that went to Anissa, who answered correctly that I was in the night garden. So well done to you. Prize number 2, a VTech rock and pop turtle for your little one. And the winner of that, who guessed correctly that we were in a play sense, I have said the word again, school, is I Pretorius. So you are the winner of the rock and pop turtle, and we'll get in touch with you afterwards. So our third prize is a Leapfrog Yum 2 to 3 toaster. And the winner of this prize is going to tell us how many times we have said the word tonight. So how many times have I said the word tonight? Pop it up in the chat, and Jade will tell us who calls it first. So Jade is now a panelist, so she can see all of the answers. So Jade, she's typing, which means that somebody said it. So Jade, who is winning the Leapfrog Yum 2 to 3 toaster? And the winner is Ulsha. Well done, Ulsha. So congratulations, you are the winner of the Leapfrog Yum 2 to 3 toaster. And then there is a fourth prize. So the fourth prize, all you need to do, and of course there is the fourth prize is a gift from the Wilson Center. And what this is an activity pack with everything that you need in order to do this week's dinosaur program. So when you get your playbook, in fact, I think it might even be, it's just a general activity pack. So it's everything that you need to do activities with your little ones, which is absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Sheena. Now, to win this prize, all you need to do is stay on afterwards and answer the survey. And if you answer the survey, you will stand a chance of winning this activity pack. And so as we finish off, you can take down this code for the 10% off your next order. And then after that, you can do the survey. But I just want to thank you for taking the time. Every single one of you are winners. Every single one of you has shown the intent to really invest in your child. And for Lara and I, we are so passionate about play. And if this is the start of a play revolution in the UAE and the Middle East, then we feel like we've done the job. So get down on the floor with your little one tomorrow and play, play, play. It's the best you can do. So thank you, everybody. Good night from me, Meg Fora. Good night, La. Good night, Sheena. Thank you, everybody.